Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Griever, your guys' host as always, bringing you guys the latest behind-the-bar reviews for not Spartacus, no, Valkyrie. Shuumatsu no Valkyrie, Chapter 30, also known as Record of Ragnarok. Let's get into this one. And yes, I do know that the Chapter 31 will also be out in a couple of days, and by proxy, the review will follow that in a few days as well. But I wanted to make this review. I know you guys were kind of used to the live reactions and such, but I was kind of doing that more to the tail end of a fight, and I plan to do that for the next bout as well, for fight number 5, which is what we're going to be into, though we don't exactly get who the combatants are going to be. I can assume from the end of this chapter who the combatant on the human side will be, but outside of that, we're not 100% sure yet on the God side. That's a definite truth. So, either way, this chapter. What a good chapter. Wasn't this good? This was a really good chapter. I mean, yeah, okay, we can't really talk about a fight because nothing happened and stuff. And if you guys want to know my thoughts on the whole Heracles could have won thing and chose not to because he loves humanity, and in the end he was in a win-win situation. If he loses, humanity gets a victory. If he wins, he petitions the god on the god side to save humanity. Regardless the outcome of that fight, Heracles wins, right? So there was always that aspect of it, but even so, there's a lot to go over there. But I love Jack's reaction to this, because the people hate it. The people loved Heracles, because Heracles loved the people. And he is just a murderer in their eyes. And of course, Jack the Ripper is a murderer, but finally, Jack might have gotten back something that makes him human. This is Shakespeare, and I think it's Charles Doyle is the one, if I remember correctly. They're talking in this chapter about it, and it says he is human as well. Because what happens is, Jack... I was under the impression, by the way, that once the Valkyrie sisters take the form of a weapon, they can't return to that original form anymore. Like, it's a do-or-die situation, and even if they don't die, they are forever the embodiment of said weapon. Once they become a Voland, that's for keeps. I don't know why I thought that. I think I was just misremembering the idea that if they die, they're dead. Once their Voland is destroyed, they die as well. But if they are successful, like Jack was, then the Voland can go back to its original Valkyrie shape and such. Which, okay, I must be misremembering that. But either way, I didn't really like the little chick with the name with an H and a couple of O's and the K's and something I can't pronounce. Hulk. I'm going to call her Hulk with double K's. Anyways, she is, of course, filthy and stuff, covered in blood. Jack's blood. I mean, she was the gloves, so to speak. And she's all ruffled up and says... you know, you are such a pitiful man. You can't even, how did it feel to kill a god? And Jack says, I do not know. I don't even know what this feeling I'm feeling right now is. I've never experienced this. And she has some insight into this, and I love this interaction here because she goes on to say, how sad, what a pathetic man you are. You can't even look sad or acknowledge when you are sad, when you are grieving. You have no idea, when you're grieving, Griever, your host. So it's a wonderful scene because we see Jack surprised by this and question, is that what I'm feeling? Am I sad that Heracles is dead? And then he walks on to pick up his hat and everything to go back out of the arena, to go to the med bay, so to speak. And as he's walking out, he picks up his hat, and then he says something, and it tugs at me, because for all my Heracles standing, which is what I do, Heracles is the best character in this manga thus far. However, that does not mean that I dislike Jack the Ripper, or that I didn't find Jack to be a very intriguing character. I actually really like Jack. And to see him here feeling sad about this, because this was the first person that he couldn't comprehend and actually felt joy and stuff. It was kind of like having his mother back, but beyond that, because his mother's love was false. Heracles' love was true, as in the end of the last chapter, where he could have chosen to slice him down, but chose to hug him instead. And just go, you know what? We're done. I love you just like I love every other member of humanity for all their faults. And that's Heracles' thing. He's the man among the gods, right? And seeing Jack just kind of contemplate the words about being sad, and then said, if I had one wish, I would wish to see you again. And I'm like, did that not feel powerful to you guys? Because it felt very powerful to me, especially with the abuse from the crowd that happens directly after that. That felt extremely personal, because Jack didn't wish for his mother. He didn't wish for what have you, the death and destruction to the crowd or to the rest of the gods or anything like that. He didn't do a joke or grin thing. He is actually sad, and his wish isn't to see the colors of despair anymore. He doesn't wish for greater fears or to see that color again. He wants to see Heracles again. It's almost a really twisted bromance that went on that I didn't even recognize up until Jack in this chapter acknowledges it. And it kind of tugged at me a little bit. Not gonna lie. That really, I approve. Jack's character, who I already liked, kind of went up a few pegs just for that one interaction, and especially the abuse from the crowd. Give us our Heracles back. You try to give us back our hero, throwing rocks and trash and everything at him. After this, we see the gods' reactions to this, and it's simply they basically go on the explanation route. Hermes, Loki, Ares, and Zeus. Zeus getting really pissed, going full form again, buffed up Hulk arm, bang, and we 2 for 2. We will not lose the next fight. So I have a feeling whoever the human is in the next fight gonna lose. To keep the tension rolling, though it would be ironic, honestly, it would be really interesting to see humanity take 3-0. Like, now they've tied it up. We had an early lead by the gods, but now if the humanity were to go on a true winning streak and actually take the lead, because I'm under the impression that the next fight will be against one of the lesser gods. Like, I don't think Odin's going to show up in the next fight. How's that sound? So I'm really curious to see if that happens and then someone like Odin shows up in the following fight to completely decimate and probably have one of the shortest fights since the Lubu versus Thor fight. That would be really interesting as well. But either way, we have the gods here. Ares, of course, bawling his eyes out but standing tall, just praising Heracles. We have Loki explaining about the blood and the fence and the whole gamble that he knew he had to gamble his life and his timing and everything in order to beat Heracles. There was no way. Jack could have very easily have lost. And once again, in my mind, Heracles kind of won. He had the opportunity to win, chose not to take it. That kind of respect from me for that thing. At the end of the day, we just get Zeus getting really pissed off. After this, we jump to, it wasn't just Jack. It wasn't just Jack that's in the fields. It wasn't just the crowd that's in the fields. We have Brunhild. Brunhild herself. And she is crushing her hand. And I thought that's all we were going to get. The crushing of the hand, the blood, when I always forget the little sister's name, the youngest Valkyrie, crying is being Valkyries or humanity. Are you happy now? Are you happy that Brother Heracles was killed by that murderer? Are you happy with yourself? And she tries to be the calm, stoic sort of, we are Valkyries and our job is to do, the chosen of the slain, and all this such. But we see that she's really pissed off and she's gripping her hand so hard that her nails are digging into her flesh and she's bleeding onto the ground. And I thought, okay, that's respect. But then we go a step further. We didn't know about this place before. This shrine to humanity. And we see Lubu and a goblet filled with, I'm assuming, some type of wine or holy water or what have you. And then another cup, sort of like the passing on, here's the cup for the dead. I believe that's done in multiple religions, so I'm not sure which religion they're taking that from. You know, there's the eyes on the coins in Greece, which was taken from and that's also in Egyptian and such. So there's, you know, to pay the toll man in the underworld. There's a lot of, there's pouring the sake over a gravestone, you know, to send someone off with a good taste of a good drink in Japanese lore and history. So, and I believe that's also in China. So the whole sending someone off with a drink is something in multiple religions, multiple histories, and what have you. So I'm not sure exactly which history they're taking this from. It could be just the Norse thing, the Valkyries. I'm not too familiar with Norse mythology, I'll admit. I know Loki, Thor, Odin, and the two ravens. That's about the extent of my Norse mythology know-how, and the Grey Dwarves. Outside of that, I'm not too familiar with it, what I don't know from Marvel Comics. So this is a very interesting setup they have. Because we have Lubu and Adam enshrined in the, apparently some shrine, some dedicated shrine to humanity, as Brunhild talks about it. There's just 2 goblets sitting there with the pictures and everything in a really nice enshrined area. And then we see her setting up a 3rd one, and she pours a drink, and she says, I know Brother Heracles, I'm sure he won't mind to be enshrined alongside with humanity. And it's like that's nice. Like, she didn't do this for the other gods, but for Heracles, she's going to enshrine him with Adam and Lubu, the fallen heroes. He deserves to be standing among them because he also fought for humanity. He might have, you know, and it's a wonderful thing. And then, I mean, let's just all raise a glass for this chapter because, and yeah, I do want to drink, but no, seriously, like, Heracles went out like a boss, and the greatest heroes thus far, fighting for the right reasons, like, just, yeah. So many feels in this chapter with that, and here at the end, I thought all we were going to get, as I said, she enshrines him, pours the glass, and says, you know, don't worry, brother, you know, I'm sure you'll be happy being here. And then I thought, as I said, it was only going to be the fist grip. And then we see her clutching the jug with the water or the wine or the what have you, clutching it to her chest, holding on for dear life as she bawls her eyes out. She didn't want her brother to die. The emotion right there, like the Jack emotion was great, and this is on par with it. Seeing Brunhild break down in that way, needing that seclusion and enshrining her brother. She didn't want this. But then again, remember, she only did Ragnarok because otherwise humanity would have died. She might seem hard as stone and evil, but she is one of the most interesting characters, isn't she? Because without her, and she has to be the pillar of strength. She doesn't have a choice. You know, she's like a leader. This is a world war. This is not just a world war. This is a cosmos-level war. 13 single duels. That's all. That's all it is. And she needs to be the pillar of strength and stand stone-faced and make those tough choices, regardless, because this is what's going to save humanity. And right here, we're seeing her being more Valkyrie. She's half god, but she's half human, and here we get it. And she's breaking down, and it that actually wrenched me a little bit. In the same way that Jax was one out of respect, this one is out of a bit of heartbreak for her. I really feel this now. Her character makes so much sense building up to this. And I just fully 110% enjoyed this element of the chapter. We're getting in the feels now. Yeah, the fights and the artwork in Valkyrie are amazing, but the feels, we haven't fully dived into them so great. But now the Heracles versus Jack fight really dived into that, and now we're really getting it post-fight. This is where the emotional aspect is really coming into its own for this manga. So I've really enjoyed that. Now, before I forget to mention it, there was one key thing that she said in the dialogue before we jump over to the very last section of the chapter, which is teasing us who the next combatant in humanity is going to be. Though the dialogue suggests that he might not be, we don't actually know. Either way, Brunhild mentions as she weeps for her brother and claims, just wait a little longer, brother, because soon I too will be here. That leads me to believe. I'm very intrigued by that, and maybe I'll make a theory video about that later, but for my very quick thoughts before we move on to the end of the chapter, is that this is implying multiple things. That she believes that once Ragnarok is over, regardless of who wins, she is going to die. She's going to be enshrined there. Whether, like, originally I believed it was because of the Valen thing, but then we're proven in this chapter that I was just misremembering, and that's not the case. If they win, the Valen can go back to their original form, and they're still a Valkyrie. So what does she mean by this? Will she commit some form of seppuku sort of idea, or what have you? Or is she going to commit, religious suicide? I have no idea. Does she plan to offer up her own life? Has she seen the future in some way? Does she have some mirror where she's seen the future and she knows that Ragnarok is pointless at the end of the day? Humanity will be spared by her sacrifice? Is there a prophecy? Is there what have you? Like, there's just so many questions about this. So maybe I need to dive a little bit into the lore of the Valkyrie and more Norse mythology before I make a theory video about that. But I just wanted to mention that. She says that she will join him soon. Sort of like, I'm going to follow you in death. Just wait a little bit longer. And where's that coming from? What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comment section down below, because this was a really intriguing part of the chapter, and I think it's foreshadowing for something greater later on down the line. Now, the end part of the chapter. We get a character. Yeah, people have said we already had a samurai. Yeah, we did. But did we have the Shinsengumi samurai? That's the question. And no, we have not. We have not seen the Shinsengumi. Now, I'm a huge fan of Rurouni Kenshin, so maybe it's the nostalgia building up in me. It's not Hajime Saito, granted, but it's the first captain of the Shinsengumi first unit, Okita Soji. And this man was dead by 24. 25, give or take. He was younger than me when he died, but he was considered one of the greatest swordsmen of the Shinsengumi, rivaled only by Hajime no Saito, captain of the 3rd unit of Shinsengumi. And he was just a master with a blade. He was incredible. He had a technique that apparently could hit 3 vital points with 1 stroke. Of course, exaggeration, but this entire manga has been exaggeration of human abilities, so we're going to see what this guy, and he's just a little kid. We see the commander, he's like Kondo, Izumi, Sami. I always forget his name, because he's not really relevant in most of the adaptations of Shinsengumi that I've read. I was more about the 3 captains of the 3 units sort of idea. That being said, he is the actual commander, and he was the commander for the majority while the Shinsengumi were active during the warring periods and before the Meiji Restoration era occurred. And here we see all these rooms actually before we get here, the antechamber of humanity's heroes. And we see quite a number of different looking doors, and that's when we get into the very feudal Japan samurai looking door, and that's when we jump in and we have Okita Soji. Now, Okita is I'm just curious the direction they're going to take this, because this is the reason I'm hesitant. I'm hesitant to say he's going to fight in the next fight for 2 reasons. Number 1, what's with the eye thing? We already had that. Like, enough with the eye powers. What is this? Naruto 2.0. We had Eyes of the Lord. That was really cool. Then we had Jack's eye. Okay, it was a single eye thing. Got it. Now we have another eye that seems to be acting a little funky. Like, no, stop with the eye powers. Save the eye power for match number 11. I'm done with people having special eye abilities or different eye things right now. That's been a little overused in this manga. That's one complaint I have. So I don't know if that's just for effect, but what's with the lightning bolt coming off of the eye thing? It's just maybe that's just the art. Maybe I'm reading too much into that, but I'm just like, okay. Plus, he seems to be a little unhinged. This is getting way too similar to a repeat of Jack's character, and I don't really want that. I like the idea of a Kintaro from Prince of Tennis type of character, a very Locke from Black Clover type of character, that very happy-go-lucky young kid who's just strong as hell and just is having a good time and being acrobatic and being crazy, right? I'm good with that. That'll be a fun character. And apparently the mangaka, the artist for this manga, actually did draw there was another manga that's not really translated very far that actually follows the story of the Shinsengumi and such. So this was another opportunity. It's the exact same design. So that's really interesting. I'm curious how they're going to retell the history of this young boy getting tuberculosis at a young age and dying before, his prime, so to speak. As I said, he died in his, mid-20s, historically. So, but he was considered like one of the greatest swordsmen, one of the greatest, he was a kenjutsu master, so to speak. And I'm just really curious to see how this is going to go down. But that was only my first point, is that the look of the character, where he looks kind of a little unhinged, like, we already had the kind of smiling, crazy, a little unhinged character on humanity's side already. I don't think they're going to repeat that, so that makes me believe that this is just a showcase. The other thing is the way the dialogue. Now, this might be a translation, forgive me if this is a wrong translation, but he says they are talking, the commander, Kondo, and Okita are talking about Lulu, Adam, Sasaki, now Jack the Ripper. It is the honor of the Shinsengumi that we have been chosen for this grand battle of Ragnarok, for the honor and what have you. This is when Okita basically whines that, when will I be chosen? Why can't I just go out there already? This makes me believe, the way the dialogue speaks, makes me believe that he's not chosen even for the next fight. Curious, but we did have a samurai only a battle ago, so to speak. So maybe they're going to save that for a little while. But who do you want to actually show up? I really want to see Rasputin. That's who I want to see. I want to see Grigory Rasputin, lover of the Russian queen himself, king of Russia, not king of Russia, the Tsar of Russia, but never the Tsar of Russia, so to speak, right? The man that couldn't be killed. That'll be really super interesting. Character design, the way they're going to take it. So I'm still hoping for either Tesla or Rasputin. I'm hoping for that to be the next fight. But what god are they going to fight? Who knows? I think Rasputin versus Anubis would be very interesting. Because life and death, he's the unkillable man. That'd be an interesting dynamic there. Either way, that's the end of the chapter pretty much. We just got kind of a teaser here. We see the design for Okita Soji and all the such. And and my pronunciation, once again, of these Japanese names is going to be a little off. I know that, so I apologize in advance if you guys have been cringing this whole time, but I'm just trying to do my best here. It's certainly not my first language. I talk good English, like what I do, right? So, either way, hope you guys enjoyed. What did you think? There was a lot of emotional baggage in this chapter, and I really enjoyed that. So, let me know what you guys think. Like, comment, and subscribe. It's always very much appreciated. This has been Griever with your Behind the Bar reviews for Valkyrie Chapter 30 review. Drink responsibly as always, and we'll see you back here in less than a week's time for Chapter 31.